Okay, again, we're in LinkedIn Live using my own LinkedIn account. And I'm going to show you all of the different areas of the LinkedIn that we've just discussed and show you a lot of the steps that you will use, a lot of the click that you'll use to be able to do networking on LinkedIn. So some overview first. Here's the search bar. And the easiest way to use a search bar is just to click in it and hit enter, and then make a decision what you're looking for and go work on that. Other thing to be aware of, big picture, is here's my network. Under my network, you'll see here's my invitations. Often I manage everything from what's called the invitation manager, and that's click on that, and I'm in what's called the invitation manager, even though they call it manage invitations here. And we'll talk about how to do that in a minute. And always the way to back out and refresh is hit the IN and come back to the top. You'll also see that I'm going to talk about who's viewed your profile. It's right here. And we'll talk about how to use that. Actually, this is really pretty interesting. We're experimenting with and understanding whether you're paying for LinkedIn or not. Another overview for you is I'll talk about the commercial use limit. The commercial use limit is a limitation to the number of LinkedIn profiles that you can view from search results. And again, search results is, however you get to it and however you drill into it. So it's all about people, but this is basically a limitation is how many profiles can you view from the search results. And every month you only get a certain number of profiles that you can view. Again, this is for free LinkedIn users. We don't know what the number is, but because LinkedIn doesn't tell us the answer to that question. But if you hit the commercial use limit, you're going to only see, typically it's 3 profiles. The fourth line, either the top or the bottom, is going to say, hey, you're using LinkedIn a lot. Maybe you need to be paying for LinkedIn. And again, this will be limited when you hit that limit until the first of next month, and then it refreshes and you start again. If you're hitting the commercial use limit on a regular, more than twice, 2 months, and you're purposeful about searching, now you may want to consider paying for LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Sales Navigator. All right, let's dig in a little deeper. Let's talk about using LinkedIn Search. First of all, in the search bar, I mentioned this. This is really a powerful way to hone in on a single person, a single LinkedIn member. I can type in Jim Smith, and upper or lowercase doesn't make any difference. And I can look for people named Jim Smith, and there's 35,000 LinkedIn members named Jim Smith. Well, that's not going to help me get to Jim Smith quickly. If I want to really hone in on a specific Jim Smith, I'll type in Jim Smith, and then I'll type in INTR, and there he is, intralogic, or there he is at intricate, or there he is at intrinsic. And I can get to them quickly. You often, if you're looking for a single individual and you know the person's first name, their last name, and you know their company, you can type in their first name, last name, and then start typing the company. You don't need to type it all the way through, and then you can go pick the Jim Smith you want from the list. And if you don't find it by doing this, then you're going to have to go into LinkedIn Search, and you're going to have to do people search, and you have to look for them this way. But knowing their first name and their last name and the company name really helps you go find them. Randy Wooden Goodwill. And there he is right there. Besides typing in somebody's name and their company name into this bar, you may want to start, if you're looking for a specific type of people or group of people, and they're in a specific industry or a specific role, you might type in information technology. Uppercase, lowercase doesn't make any difference. And you might hone in on all of the people, now why it moved, who had the word information technology somewhere in their LinkedIn profile. That's a powerful way to start. It drives it down a little smaller before you get more tactical at using the filters that are available to you. So let's talk about filters. So for people, you start with connections, locations, and company. Let's talk about connections for a minute. You have three options for connections. First level, these are people that we're already connected to. Somebody sent the other person an invite and that other person said yes, hit the accept button. That's first level. Second level are people that you're not yet connected to, but you have mutual connections. You can see that typically right here. You know, Dave Wagner, I'm not connected to, but I have 10, 11, 12 mutual connections. I got 10, 11, 12 here. So second level is a really important group of people when you're prospecting. Third level, these are people that I'm not connected with. I don't have any mutual connections. But there's two categories of third level. Category number one is people who are relevant to me in some way or another. Maybe we are in the same group. Maybe we are in the same industry. Maybe we're in the same region. Maybe we work for the same companies or industries, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we have similar interests in some way. There's lots of different reasons. LinkedIn does not clarify all the different parameters for relevance for third level. But the first type of third level connection is someone that we're relevant to but not yet connected with or have mutual connections. The other area of third level connections are people that we have no relevance to at all. These are often referred to as out of network, and LinkedIn typically will not let you see out of network profiles. They may show up in the search results, but when you go to view them, LinkedIn's going to say they're out of network and you can't view them. Now, some recruiters have the ability to see X number of out of network profiles, but most of us, LinkedIn won't let us see them. So now, when you're doing search, I recommend one of two things. Either look for first level connections by themselves, because this is a conversation that's different than looking for second level. Because this conversation, we're already connected, and I want to move to the next step, the next part of the process, which is try to get the right people into the right conversation. When you're looking for second level, if you don't have enough profiles in your search results, then you may also include third level. But separate first level from second or second and third, because they're totally different conversations. And when you make your decision what you want to search for, you hit show results. Information technology that I'm second level with is 166,000. Now, here's the other filters. Locations, current company, and all filters. Now I can go up here to locations. I can say only in the United States. 166,000 goes to 120,000. Remember, these are second level. Now I can go current company. I want to find all the people who work for Microsoft. Hit show results. Go drive the list down to 600. Now, let's go look at all filters. All filters, we talked about connection. Here's one area that's really important. If I want to have a conversation with somebody, I want to find them, man, I'm going to look for people who I have some level of relationship with. So I'm going to look for people that are connected to my friend Samantha or Samantha Young. And then show results. And there aren't any. So I've got to clean that up. So maybe if Samantha's the wrong one, let me hit reset. Should be able to go back to 613. So let's go back to all filters. Let's go to connections of, let's take in, say Randy. Good, one of my large connector who I'm highly connected with. And there's one result, William. Second level with the word information technology in their profile, connected to Randy in the United States and who works for Microsoft. So if I take and get rid of that, it's going to be a much bigger list. 40. Information technology in their profile. They're second level to me. They're connected to Randy Wooden, and they're in the United States. Now, by the way, this is one of the problems of LinkedIn search. It's broke. It just broke. There's no way it's just 40. So I've got to clear it out and install over again. So I'm going to look for information technology. I'm going to go to people. I'm going to go to connections who are second level, hit show results, 166,000. And then let's go back to all filters. So I might say, here's the connection. I might say who are connected to Randy. Now, here's the rest of the filters. And I wouldn't put these two together, but this is another filter. This is finding people who care enough about others who are using creator mode, and I'm looking for the people who are following that creator. Now, I'm a LinkedIn strategist. I might look for people who follow other LinkedIn strategists. I might look for people who follow sales leaders. I might look for people who find leadership development or talent development professionals. But think about the people who are that you are important to you, your target audience. Who are they paying attention to? And maybe you need to look for those people who are following the people relevant to you. Just another way of using LinkedIn people search. Locations, I can look for people who are in California and Florida, and I can add another location if I want to. I can add 5, 6, 10 different locations. I don't know if there's a big limit. Current company, we talked about already, looking for people who work for Microsoft or work for any one of these company. I can add a company. I want to find people who work for Upcala. Find all those people. I can look for people who worked at a company previously. Now, maybe I wouldn't do this. I would separate that and maybe come down here and add Upcala down here and look for people who used to work for Upcala. And again, maybe people who used to work for Deloitte. Be very purposeful about looking for people who either work for a current company or used to work for a specific company that are relevant to who are your target audience. I can look for people who went to a specific school, and I may not tie company, past company, and school together. I may separate that and only look for school and come back and do company later. May look for people who are in a specific industry. And by the way, all of these add location, add company, add prior company, add school, and add industry. You're only going to be able to select data that exists in LinkedIn. I can't say find a school that went to Teddy's book school. It doesn't exist on LinkedIn, so I can't put ad hoc values in there. I've got to select only what exists on LinkedIn. And again, talk about different industries. My goal here is to use all the filters that work the best together to drive my results down to the smallest viable audience. Open to maybe join a board or pro bono that's not relevant to me, but maybe relevant to you. People who have a services page on their LinkedIn profile. I have a services page. A lot of people have services page. Somebody look for people who have a specific services page on their profile because I want people who can help me with an IT project or help me with a software development project. Now, this is the ad hoc section. These keywords down here, I can put any names I want in there. Spell them right, Teddy, because they got to be, spelled correctly to work. I can have an ad hoc title. I can put in, banana farmer, because it's going to look for the word banana farmer in their title, their current position title. And I can also put an ad hoc company name or an ad hoc school name. I mean, I can put in Teddy's, Teddy's library. It's going to look for all the people who have the words Teddy's library in their current company field. Or school. I can put in any school. I can type in Mary's daycare. Anything I want to put here that probably wouldn't look for people who went to Mary's daycare and work at Teddy's library. But these are ad hoc. You can put anything you want in there and find these people. There may be a company that existed, but they don't have a company page on LinkedIn, so I couldn't get to them up here, but I can put their company name down here. One of them I know for a fact is a company called Outsource. So I know it's a company. I know people work for that company. Another one is Neutron, Neutron. That's a company that I know exists today, but they don't have a LinkedIn company page. So that's what you put down there, ad hoc values you're looking for in these specific fields. School name, any company name, whether it's current company or prior company, their title, and this would be, again, first name, last name. Use these filters. Build the most logical criteria that you can to drive your search results down to the smallest viable set before you start working it. Go back to search, hit enter, go back to company or go to company. Now I'm looking for a company. So there's 57.7 million companies listed on LinkedIn. Now all of my filters, again, I can do ad hoc. If I can put up here software development, put quotes around it. 93,000 companies who on LinkedIn with a company page who have the term software development in their name, in their tagline, or in their overview information. So I can drive it down further. I'll do all filters, find companies that have software development in a specific location. I can start, same thing with people. I can start with a country, go to a state, go to a region, and then or go to a city. I can drive it down all those different ways. In a particular industry, again, this is going to be locations and industries that are in LinkedIn's data. I can look for a particular company size, look for 1 to 200, or just slice this up however I want. If I only want to look for, Fortune 100, I'd go for larger. I can look for people who have a job, I can look for companies that have a job listing on LinkedIn. Now, maybe I'm not looking for a job. That would be a different conversation, but relevant to this activity. Maybe I'm looking for companies that are hiring people, because if they're hiring people, they may have a need for my services or my solutions or my products. So I can look for job listings. And this other one is really powerful, because if I want to do account-based marketing or account-based prospecting, I may want to look for companies where I have a connection, because that's going to make it easier for me to get a conversation with the right people at that company. Now, again, put these search filters together in the most logical way to drive your results down to the smallest viable results, because that you can work and execute appropriately. Now, I talked a little bit about Boolean Search up here in the search bar, and you can put some interesting Boolean search strings. Again, Boolean Search uses phrases or words, phrases with quotes around them, and then also uses what's called the operators. The operators are and, or, as well as not. And all of them, operators have to be in uppercase for them to work. So you want to experiment with Boolean Search. I will offer to you that it doesn't work as powerful in LinkedIn Search as it does in Google Search. So let's talk about Google Search. I've opened up a new tab. And here's my, I'm using Chrome, so Chrome starts with a Google search. So I could go to google.com and get exactly the same thing. Now let's talk about LinkedIn. Let's talk about Google search in LinkedIn. First of all, there's a tactic in Google search called site search. Type in site and then type the URL without the www that I want to look at. I want to look at linkedin.com, but I'm going to be even more purposeful than that. I want to look at linkedin.com/IN, which are for LinkedIn members, or linkedin.com/company, which is looking for companies. These are two big ones, IN and company. So that's where I'm going to look, site search into that area of LinkedIn. Then you do a space, and then you say, what am I looking for? And now I can write as sophisticated as a Boolean search string as I want to. I'm looking for information technology. Maybe I'll put parentheses around that. Information technologies. Or software development. Put quotes around, put parentheses around that. So I'm looking for this, either information technology or software development. And vice president, put parentheses around that. Vice president, upper or lower, doesn't make any difference. Or VP, or VP. Looking for software development or IT, and vice president or VP or V.P. Hit enter. I just did a site search in looking at LinkedIn profiles, IN, for information technology, software development, and whatever the rest of that string said. Oh, right here it is up top here. And VP, vice president, or V.P. That's what I'm looking for. And I got 11 million profiles. And I can scroll through this Google list, search results, and look at all of these LinkedIn profiles. Again, if I want to, I can look at all 11,300. But maybe I want to drive it down a little tighter. So I'll come over here and I'll do and North Carolina. 11,300,000 goes to 183,000. VP, Vice President, V.P. Technology or Software Development. So build this search string, this Boolean search string, using the operators and, or, as well as not, using quotes around double words for phrases, parentheses around, I want to make sure I find one of these three, and this and that, and drive this down to, again, the smallest viable audience you can. And then right-click on the ones that you want to look at, and this is the right-click tactic. Right-click, open in a new tab. Open all the ones up you want to look at, right-click, open in a new tab. And because you're logged into LinkedIn, it's going to open up the LinkedIn profiles. And then you can work this Google search results window, and you can find all the people you want to find and then execute on them as you see fit. Now, one really cool tactic. If I really like that, if I got a really cool string and I got some really good results, then I want to do two more things. Number one, I might want to go to Tools and say within the last month. How many do I get? It doesn't tell me how many I got, but it does give me 2 pages worth. So maybe maybe I don't want it that tight. Maybe I want to find the last year. Okay, I got 10 pages. So maybe I want to tighten this results down by when did these records get created, or when did they get indexed with this data? Now here's the next thing. Bookmark this. If you've built a really good Google site search string, bookmark it so you can open it back up later without having to completely rebuild it. It's really important to do because you want to be efficient. And if you built a really good site search, again, and you want to come back and work this next week and then next week and the next week, maybe what you'll do is you will drive that down to just the last week or the last month, and once a month work this. And so that you can be as efficient as possible by working a saved bookmark of a Google search. Best way to figure this out is experiment with it. Let's build a search string. I'm going to get another search string put together, software development. I want to look for people. And I want to look for people that are second level to. 169,000 is still too big. Let me look for people just in North Carolina. Show results. 7,000 still too big. So maybe I want to go to all filters, and I want to go to title, and I want to find vice president. Let's just do manager. Show results. So here's all the software development managers. It's still too big. So maybe I want to go up here and I want to go and V.P. or vice president or VP. Got 1,600. Still too big. Really do need to drive. So instead of North Carolina, maybe I need to come back here and I need to look for just Winston-Salem and Raleigh and drive it down to the city. Let's go to Greensboro, Winston-Salem. Let me do Charlotte Metro. Let's do Raleigh, North Carolina, Chapel Hill area. And let's get rid of North Carolina. Show results. 1,600 should come down to 1,500. Wow, that's where all of them are in the Charlotte area. So I got to find another filter that I can drive this down. Let's go to all filters. Let's go to industry. And I want to find only people who are in the financial industry and do, or banking maybe, and do show results. Now it's not a bad list. It's actually a pretty big list, but it's not too bad. Might not be able to execute on all of that. Now, similar to saving a Google site search, I don't have the ability to create a saved search in LinkedIn. I do in Sales Navigator, but this course is not about Sales Navigator. So I can't save this search, but here's what I can do. I can copy that search string and maybe save it somewhere, but I could also bookmark this page. Now, when you bookmark that page, what's going to happen when you bring that page back up? It's going to bring up all of the results that it finds, including the new ones, and it'll remove the ones that are no longer. So maybe this person moved out of the Charlotte area and they live in Atlanta. So that person's going to go out of this list. Maybe there's somebody who was in Atlanta who is now in the Charlotte region. They'll show up on the list. So the bottom line, it's not going to bring up the same list. It's going to execute the search criteria on the data set that it has available today. So save this search string, say bookmark this tab, so you can come back to it later. Now, if you bookmark a tab in a LinkedIn search, or if you bookmark a tab in a Google search, I recommend that you do that very intentionally, saying to yourself, I intend to work these results later. Otherwise, you're saving stuff that you're never going to do anything with. But save it so you can come back to it and work it again later. Now let's talk about how to work a list. Here's how you work a list. You got a list that's manageable. 544 is a little bit big, but I got a list that I want to work. Now, number one, write down somewhere, document that this is the search string I had here. I was looking for second level in these locations and these industries with these keywords. Okay, a manager in there. Write this down. Now, maybe it's just bookmark it and you come back to it, but you want to be clear that, okay, I worked this list today, and the next time I come in here, I'm not going to work Charlotte, Greensboro, I'm going to work Atlanta. So you're not working exactly the same list over and over again. So you can come back and work a different list next time. Just the most effective way, instead of banging on the same thing over and over again, mix it up. Maybe look in a different industry, look in a different region, maybe look for slightly different words, but don't repeat the same search over and over again. Now, how to work the actual list. You go through the list, you look at what you see, do I have a connection? Are they in the right region? Are they doing the right work? And if they are, right click and open in a new tab. And scroll all the way down through the entire list. There's 10 people on a page, and find all the ones, I'm doing this quickly, all the ones that I want to go look at, that I may want to execute on, and open them all up and get to the bottom of the page. If you have 4 to 10, then you stop at the bottom of this page. And then you go to each record and you execute on this record based on whatever your purpose is. If your purpose is to, just do research, then do that research and close down the tab and go to the next one. And look at this next person and make a decision. What am I going to do? Why am I looking for these people? Am I just doing research, or am I looking for a way to connect? And is this the right person to connect? We'll talk about research in a minute. Execute on each one of these, and after you execute on each one, come back to your list, go to page 2 or 3 or 4, scroll through and open up a right click, open in a new tab. All the ones you want to do this again, build your list again, work your tabs, build your tabs open, work your tabs, and come back down and go to the next page. This is the most efficient way to work both a Google search results and a LinkedIn search results page, because my list stays intact and I just keep moving through my list and executing in the tabs that I open. Let's talk about research. So research is, once you open up these profiles, let me bring up my buddy Randy. I can feel comfortable looking through his profile. Now I'm going to use Randy's profile for this research conversation. So here's what you want, how you want to research. Is it the right person? Is he in the right region? Is he? Does this headline speak of him in a way that I believe this is the right person? Do I have mutual connections? Randy and I are highly connected to each other. Are we in any groups together? It looks like Randy and I are in 7, 8, 9 different groups together. Read his about section. This is really powerful. Well, I'm trying to have a conversation with Randy. Look at that. He gave me his phone number and his email address and the web page to his department. Read his about section. What does it say? Is this the right person that I'm looking for? Come down and look at his experience section. What's his experience say? Again, the question, this research is this the right person? And this is the person that I want to do more research on, maybe connect with, maybe engage with, or whatever I'm trying to achieve. Then, maybe look at his education, his licenses, look through his profile quickly and determine, is this the right person? By the way, you can also look at his activity. Right down here is activity. You can go look at all his activity. What's he posting? What's his documents look like if he has any documents? What's his articles look like if he wrote any LinkedIn articles? Is this the guy that I'm looking for? And if he look at the activity, not only posts, but you can see what words he used, if he commented on anything. What does his words say? And make a determination through this research, is this the guy I'm looking for? And if so, then go to the next step. But you've got to do this research. And by the way, when you're doing research and you see you have no connections, you see he has a small network. By the way, most people's LinkedIn network is equal to their followers. Most, but not all. Randy's got 5,000 followers. He has about 5,000 connections. If you see that there's no activity, if you see he has done nothing in the past 30 days, 60 days, or a year, if he hasn't done anything at all in the last 60 days or a year, I would not waste time trying to connect with this person. He's not on LinkedIn. If I have no mutual connections and he has a very small network, I would not spend time connecting with this person. If his experience section is built out minimalistically, I'm not going to spend time. He's not going to be using LinkedIn enough for it makes sense for me to connect with him. I'm going to look for a different channel. If this is the right person, I'm going to look for a different channel to get into a conversation with him or get introduced to him rather than using LinkedIn. But do this research before you go to the next step. Let's talk about how to send the right LinkedIn invite. We go to Megan's profile. It's a good friend of mine. Let's say I want to connect with her. I've done the research. She works for the right company. She's in the right role. She's using LinkedIn enough. She's got a big enough network. Whatever the parameters are that have been that she has met, and I want to send her an invite. Let's talk about how to do this. First of all, if she does not have the word connect here, it's going to be hidden under more. Under more, there's the connect button. But before I send her a connect request, I got to consider this. Is she going to accept it? Now, typically, if I really want to connect with Megan, I'm not going to send her an invite if she does not know who I am. And if she does not know who I am, then here's the one of two tactics I use for her to get to figure out who I am before I send her an invite. Number one, look at the mutual connections and see who do I know that is already connected to Megan who can introduce me to her. Now, I might reach out to Kristen or Kathy. I might reach out to Donnie. One of these people, or Kelly, and I'm going to ask one of these folks who I know well, I'm going to ask them to introduce me to Megan. And this is how I'm going to ask it. I may call Kelly because I haven't talked to her in some time. I may follow up with an email. But whether I call her to rejuvenate that relationship with her or simply send an email because I've got a current ongoing, she said hi to me or I've said hi to her recently, this is what I'm going to ask. Number one, Kelly, do you know Megan well? I need that to be an affirmative before I continue. Number two, Kelly, do you think Megan is the right person at Baycam for me to connect with regarding what I do? Does she know her well? Does she feel that she's the right person? If she knows her well and feels that she's the right person, then the next statement hopefully will execute on. I generally, the third statement says this: if so, would you do me a favor and send Megan an email, copy me on the message, and introduce me to her so I can connect with her on LinkedIn? Does she know her well? Does she believe she's the right person? If so, send her an email, copy me, and introduce me. Now, I don't need that introduction from LinkedIn's perspective to send that invite, but from my perspective, I know for a fact that when I get introduced by a mutual person who we both know well, or that in some degree, that Megan is more likely to accept that invite. Ask for introductions. That's tactic number one. And by the way, if Kelly doesn't know that person well enough or doesn't feel she's the right person, then I may go to Mallory or Jeffrey or Kristen and ask for those introductions from someone else. I don't ask a bunch of them at the same time. I'm not in a rush to do this. Now, let's say that I can't get an introduction. Then the next thing I'm going to look for, I'm going to look for her activity. Let me go back to Randy, which I have a better way of ability to show this for you under Randy. If I can't get introduced, I'm going to go look for their activity. I'm going to hit show all, and I'm going to look at post. Nothing else but post. I'm going to look for a piece of content that Randy shared that I can engage on. And if Randy's active on LinkedIn, which 5 hours ago he shared this, if Randy's active on LinkedIn, then when I engage on his content, he's likely to see that I did, and he's likely to engage back. So I'll pick all of this is a group activity. I typically look for public activity. Unless we're in a group together, this is public activity. I'll read what Randy wrote. I'll listen to this interview on here. I won't listen to it all. I'll listen to enough for me to be able to come down and engage in some meaningful content. I'm going to engage in his content in some meaningful way. Not just a thank you, not just I appreciate it. Randy, I listened to your Fox 8 interview. I really loved your idea about X. Show them that you cared enough to do this research. And when you bump into this person in that way, specifically if that person is active on LinkedIn, then they may very well come back and comment with you and start the engagement before you even connect. But if I see this person is highly active on LinkedIn, I can see right here, 5 hours ago, he shared something in a group. I can see he's been pretty active even today. If he's fairly active, I'm going to go ahead and comment, and then I will follow up immediately with sending that LinkedIn invite. Ask for introductions, bump into their content online. If you don't believe they know who you are, it's much more powerful than just simply sending an invite. Now let's talk about sending the actual invite. I recommend, even if you're working a list, if I go back to a list, I do not use the connect button here. I don't use the connect button here. I go to their profile, right click, open in a new tab. I'm going to use Megan as an example. And I very purposely send the invite from their profile. Again, the reason is I'm looking for something relevant here that I can refer to when I send her this invite. Now, maybe I got introduced. Maybe I bumped into their content. But no matter what the situation is, by the way, if connect is not here, there might be follow here or message here. But if connect is not here, it's typically under more, and there's a connect button. I send the invite from their profile, mainly so I can do the research on what to say, and I always add a personal note. Now, this personal note needs to be real. Needs to show that you spent some time looking at her profile. Needs to show that you looked at her content. Needs to show that, you've talked to Randy or you've met people that she met and you really enjoyed working with Kristen or whatever the words are. You want to show real relevance. Maybe you reference the fact that she went to Appalachian State and so did you and, really enjoyed that school and, but you want to put a personal note here and then you follow the personal note up. Don't start a personal note with, I wanted to connect. Don't start a personal note with, I want to connect with you because. Start your personal note with the relevance. Megan, I looked at your profile and I was really intrigued when I saw that you went to Appalachian State and you studied photography. My wife did the same thing, or my daughter did the same thing. Then once you do that, what's called bonding and rapport. Once you do that bonding and rapport here, then you can make the invitation. Let me make very clear about what the invitation is. I'm not going to use these words. These are just placeholders. The invitation is for one thing and one thing only, to connect. I often use this phrase, please join me on LinkedIn. And I often put my name and I put my phone number. I'm showing that I'm being that transparent, that open. By the way, if I'm connecting globally, I use my Google Voice number instead of my local number. Make a bonding and rapport statement, and then ask to connect. The only thing you're after with this invite is to connect, nothing more. And then you hit send. Just doing your research, finding the right people to connect with, look for ways to get introduced to them, look for ways to engage with them, bump into them on LinkedIn before you send that invite. And you'll get the greatest results. Does it take more time to do? Absolutely. But you will get the greatest results doing this. Couple other areas of LinkedIn you might want to pay attention to when you're doing research to find the right people. Let me show you. Not only can I do a search to find the right people, but I could also go look at other areas like, let's see who looked at my LinkedIn profile. Now, if you're not paying for LinkedIn, you're only going to see the last 5 people who looked at your profile. That may be okay, but you want to look at this periodically because you may discover there's somebody who looked at your LinkedIn profile who is highly relevant to you. And if they're highly relevant to you, and they looked at your profile, they know who you are because they looked at your profile, especially they looked at it in the last 4 hours. So now what I can do is go to his profile, do my research on who he is, and then my invite could say, you know, where's the effect of Carlos? I was on LinkedIn. These are the words I use. I'll never say, I noticed you peeked at my profile. What I will say is, hey, Carlos, I saw you on LinkedIn a little while ago. I looked at your profile and discovered you're all about helping businesses grow. I thought I would say hi and invite you to connect. Those are the kind of words I'll do when I'm looking at who looked at my profile. The other thing to look at as far as who looked at your profile is another area. People you may know. Now over here, they may have 1 or 2 things here. They may have people you may know who are going to be relevant to this person. So maybe one of these people are relevant to you. So I'll right click, open that in a new tab. And then I'll look at their profile and I'll make a decision over here. Who is Nathan Smith? How is he relevant to me? What's he do? And then if I've never engaged with him before, or I don't know him, he doesn't know me, again, use your network to get introduced or bump into their activity. And this guy hasn't done anything in the last 30 days. Some of us don't have the people also viewed turned on their profile. I turned it off on mine. I don't want people looking at my peers, so I turn that off. So for those who haven't turned it off, you'll have people also viewed, and then you'll also have people you may know as well. So there's 5 people in each of these lists. And look at show more. Where's show more go? Oh, wow, it just shows more. That's pretty cool. That shows up to 10. Let's go back to our LinkedIn network, my network. And you'll see again, here's connections, here's contacts. By the way, contacts has changed. Used to be under contacts that when you add more contacts, that you had the ability not only to connect to the email account that you have, but there was also another one that would allow you to import a CSV file. That is gone now. So you can only connect to your existing contacts, which whether it's in Outlook or Gmail, Yahoo, or AOL accounts. I personally do not use any of this. I don't need to import my contacts to send invites out to the right people. So again, I don't use this. I don't recommend it. But under my network, that was the area here. Here's something that's really important, and that is never manage your invites from here. Because you can see I can reply to this guy, but I can't message Mickey. So I'm going to always manage my invites from whatever's over here, either CL18 or manage. I think the word, if there's no invites pending, the word's going to be managed. So you go there. Now, why do I manage my invites here? Not only because I can see all the ones I received that are pending, but I can also see all the ones that I sent that are pending. Let's talk about sent for a minute. I typically say if they have not accepted it in a month, withdraw them. Withdraw all the ones you need to withdraw that are too old, that haven't been accepted, because there's no reason to leave those sit there. And furthermore, I might want to come back later and send another invite to these people, so I'll withdraw those now. What's really powerful when the second time I send these invites, I'm not going to send Doug an invite until I can engage with him somewhere. So if I see him in a networking event, if I see him, engaging on LinkedIn, then I may, send him connect with him or engage with him in some way outside of LinkedIn, and I may alert them that I'm going to send them an invite so that they're more likely to say, oh yeah, there's a Teddy we just met at this event. I'm going to accept his invite. Again, the more you can prepare that person for seeing that LinkedIn invite, either through an introduction, bumping into their content, a phone call, whatever, see them at a networking event, the more likely they're going to accept that invite. Let's go back to received. And then let's talk about this a little bit. So these are people who sent me invites. Again, I can reply back to Hughes, but from the front page, I don't have the ability to message Mickey. This is why I come over here. Now, why is that important to me? If I don't know who Mickey is, I've got to send her a message and ask her who she is. My typical message is going to look like this. It's going to basically, let me make this bigger so you can see it. It's basically going to say this. I use a tool called Text Expander to do these short codes, little snippets, and I send a message like this. Hi, Mickey. Thanks for the invite. How did you find me? Did someone refer me to you? I love to help people with what I do. Is there something specific I can help you with? I look forward to your reply. I'm trying to make this about business, not just about collecting LinkedIn connections. And the I look forward to your reply is basically saying I need a reply. If you don't reply in my process, if she doesn't reply to that message, which I've already sent her, in 1 week, I hit the ignore button. They have to respond. I don't want to connect with people on LinkedIn who are not going to engage with me. It doesn't work. I know for a fact that people I connect with, who I can engage with in some way or another on LinkedIn, are the best connections. Just to connect, for me, doesn't work. I have to be able to engage. So I send her that message and I give her a week to respond. So again, work these invites that come in. And if the person sends you a message that really isn't powerful enough to you, and you really want to know a little bit more about Hughes, then what you can do is reply back to them with the same idea. Hughes, thanks for the invite. Thanks for the note. I like to connect with people who are relevant to me as well. Is there something specific I can help you with? Whatever the words are for you, whatever your purpose is for connecting, be intentional about it and don't just simply accept invites for the sake of accepting invites. Furthermore, again, I'll repeat, I want him to respond back to me. I mean, I could just simply say, hey, Hughes, thanks a lot. I looked at your LinkedIn profile. I saw you're involved in XYZ. Tell me a little bit more about that. I need them to respond to me. If they don't respond to me in some meaningful way, I won't connect. And by the way, there are a lot of people who are using automation to send these invites out. So pay attention. Sometimes you may ask a question, then they respond back with automation, and they don't even address the question. For me, that's disrespectful and an opportunity for me to hit the ignore button and the I don't know button. So be very intentional about, I call this the vetting process. Vet who you're connecting with before you connect with them. And if you can't vet them as being relevant, you can't vet them with being sincere and real, then just hit the ignore button and maybe the I don't know button. Furthermore, when you're vetting these people, you may very well open up their LinkedIn profile and look at their LinkedIn profile. I'm going to use Randy's profile for this purpose. Look at their profile and make a decision. Are they active on LinkedIn? Is their profile built out right? Look, he even gives me his phone number, which is important to me if I'm trying to connect with people and engage with them. Vet them out. But what's their activity look like? What's their experience section look like? If they're not using LinkedIn or they're using it very infrequently, again, I am not sending an invite to someone who doesn't use LinkedIn. It's a waste of time. Find a different channel to connect with that person if you feel that person's important to your business. 3 more things that are important to talk about. Number 1, as I connect, I need to immediately engage with the people I connect with. If Cherie is highly relevant to my business, I'm going to look and see if I have her business phone number, her mobile phone number, or her email address, business email address. Because if she is highly relevant to me, I'm going to call her or email her and thank her for the connection and let her know in one sentence what I do. And I'm going to offer to her, is there something I can do to help you? If you'd like to have a conversation in any regards, relevant to me and relevant to you, let's talk. Again, if she's highly relevant, call or email. If she's highly relevant and I can't call or email, then I'll use a LinkedIn message. But I'll do that message from her profile so I can look for some more relevance on her profile and maybe reference with one sentence something I discovered about her profile or about her, her previous business, her previous career, whatever it is, so I can show her I cared enough to really get to understand a little bit about who she is just from her content before we talk. Number one rule, engage immediately, and you engage at a higher level with the people who are highly relevant to you. Now, if I'm connecting with people who are not highly relevant to me, and none of these fall in that category, if I'm connecting with people who are not highly relevant to me, I am going to always send them a LinkedIn message. And my LinkedIn message is pretty straightforward. I use a philosophy called thanks. And it says, I put her name in here. Make this big so I can show it to you. Thanks for the connection. I really appreciate it. I love to help people with LinkedIn. Feel free to ask me any questions. If you need help with using LinkedIn as a business tool, let's chat. If they're not highly relevant to me, that's my standard message to them. And I either include or exclude my email address and phone number depending upon that level of relevance. If they are really not relevant to me, and I'm connecting with them for some other reason called networking for mutual benefit, and I don't see a need for them to call me or email me, I don't give them my email address or my phone number. But if they're relevant in some way or another, they get my email address and my phone number. Every single person you connect with, you engage with immediately upon connecting. Let's talk about the other big issue about managing our LinkedIn network. Let's go back to Randy or Megan. Blocking and reporting. If I discover that Megan is someone who is less than authentic, and I don't want her engaging with me in any way, if I find Megan is not only less than authentic, but being disrespectful or rude on LinkedIn, I'm going to go to the next level. The level where I have the ability to go to is report and block. In report and block, I can report a post, a comment, or a message. I can report content on her profile, or I can get help with Megan. What I don't see here is block. And now that doesn't show up on every profile, but you also want to consider using block. I can block someone without alerting LinkedIn that they are a problem. But I can also, and I should, let LinkedIn know when someone is a problem. So I can report content on their profile. If I want to, their profile information, I can say it looks like scam, adult, violence, or whatever, and block them in a very deliberate way using this report for blocking. Report them in a very deliberate way based on something as specific as these different areas. Now, let's go look at somebody else's profile. More, report, block. There's the block. I don't have to report, but I could just simply block. If I don't want to report them for something specific, I can just simply block them, and they will never be able to send me a LinkedIn invite. They won't be able to engage in my content. They won't even be able to see my LinkedIn profile. And furthermore, I won't be able to see their stuff either. So be very purposeful about reporting where you should report. Follow these options here and report, and or block them so that they don't come back up into your activity or your network in any way. Use this deliberately so we can collectively keep our LinkedIn network in a much cleaner state. The last big thing I want to share with you is follow, unfollow, and unconnect. So let's go back to my buddy Randy. So if I am tired of Randy's content, I don't want to see it in the newsfeed anymore, I can simply unfollow him. And again, all that will do is keep Randy's content, Randy's pretty active, it'll keep his content from showing up in my LinkedIn newsfeed. LinkedIn newsfeed's on the homepage right here. Okay, so if I unfollow him, I won't see it. Now I could also, from the three dots, I can unfollow G, and I can mute Jamal. And so I can do either one of these from here as well. But again, I can go to G's profile, I can go to more, and I can unfollow her so her content won't show up my profile. Now, I do that before I would do remove. If G's content is just way irrelevant to me, nothing I'm interested in, it's distracting for me, but I like her business, and she's relevant to me in some way, I'm going to use the unfollow. However, if she's not relevant to me, her business is not relevant to me, her industry is not relevant to me, and I'm tired of seeing her content, and she has proven, and this is only hypothetical, this has not happened with G, and if she's proven herself to be distracting in lots of ways, maybe disrespectfully, then I'm going to not only unfollow her, I'm going to remove the connection, and I may even go to the next level of blocking, because I don't need that in my network. But again, these are different levels. Unfollow means I just don't want to see your content. Remove means I don't want to see your content. I don't want you in my network. And block, report is the next level. We need to use these tools in this manner, in this order, so that we get the best value from LinkedIn networking. Let me share with you really quickly my basic process of networking on LinkedIn. First of all, I am very intentional about my LinkedIn search. I call them campaigns. For me, whether when I'm doing searching on LinkedIn, my campaigns are basically designed around the role of the human in a particular industry in a particular region. I don't look for sales leaders. I'm very purposeful about sales leaders in particular industries in particular regions, so that I can work and can talk and the words that I use in my invites, the words I use in my messaging, and the words I use in my phone calls and emails, et cetera, so that I don't have to be jumping back and forth between different roles and back and forth between different industries, because the words are all different across all those different categories. Secondly, I use primarily LinkedIn and Sales Navigator search. I don't spend a lot of time in Google search. For me today, there are a lot of people who are searching and prospecting at a much higher level than I do today, where Google search becomes very relevant. Additionally, Google search is more relevant for people who are paying for free LinkedIn and don't want to run into the commercial use limit, so I don't need it. But I do teach, and I do use Sales Navigator, so I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator search predominantly for my prospecting. I always look for a way to get introduced. I call that a relevant introduction or an organic introduction. I always look for a way to get introduced first and foremost. If I can't find that, then I look for a way to bump into them. If I can't get introduced or I can't bump into them, then I generally hold back and don't send an introduction, because again, my network is in a different state than most people's networks are, and large enough and rich enough that I don't have to force it. So I generally don't force an invite. I never hesitate from this. I never deviate from this part of the process. Every single time I do relationship building engagement or message. And again, it might be a phone call, it might be a text message, it might be a business email, it might be an Instagram message, it might be a TikTok message or a Twitter message. But if they're highly relevant to me, I go this high level messaging. Again, I call that relationship building. And I also may, where relevant and appropriate, invite them to a 15-minute one-on-one. And most people in business know a one-on-one is just for me to meet you and you to meet me, nothing more, no sales. And that really pays huge dividends for me because my network trusts me, because they know I'm not trying to force them into a sales conversation. I hesitate less often now than I did in the early days. I am much more likely today, if I am not going to accept an invite from someone, if I discover them to be fake, if I discover them to be using automation inappropriately, if I discover them to be totally irrelevant to me, I'm going to hit the ignore button. I may very well hit the I don't know button, and I may even hit the block and report button, because it's that important to me to keep our LinkedIn network cleaner. I don't over-invite. I'm not trying to grow a huge network anymore. I've got a really, again, rich network. So I don't over-invite people. I focus on the right people based on the campaign that I'm working on. And it's got to be relevant to my purpose and goal for every invite. If I don't know why I'm sending them an invite, if I don't understand their relevance to me, if I don't understand the potential for that next step and what that next step is going to be, I don't invite. I've really got to make sure it fits my purpose and goal. For me today, I spend less than 1 hour a week on prospecting and sending invites. Again, my network is very rich. I'm blessed to have the network I have. In the early days, I probably spent 4 hours a week in my prospecting and sending out invites. In those days, I didn't understand purpose and intention. Now I do. I wish I would have understood purpose and intention back then. My network would have been even richer. But for me, an hour a week is fine. For someone in the early stages, I would really recommend, at least 4 hours of prospecting and sending invites, so that you're building your network, again, very intentionally to achieve the goal that you're focused on today. I have a business card process that I teach my clients that includes, networking and collecting the business cards and what do I do next. And it also aligns and ties directly into my my networking on LinkedIn. My purpose of sharing that with you is because I have a lot of business processes that aren't just in LinkedIn, that may align with LinkedIn and may include activities in LinkedIn. These are not standalone processes. They were all integrated in very meaningful ways to create real business value. I share this with you not to tell you what you should do, but to share with you and get you to think about, you need a process, and you need a process that you stick to. And your process will refine and develop and grow and change as you move forward. But you have to have a process. And the better you define your process for yourself, the better you create processes that stack up tactics that align with really good habits, the better your process will be, and the more likely you will be eager, if not excited, to execute your process. Read the book Atomic Habits and you'll understand what I mean. But have processes that you stack together to give you the greatest results, and you'll find that you're more likely to do them and create those results. Okay, let's wrap this course up. Let me give you a few more LinkedIn networking best practices for you to consider. Some of these are reiterating what we've already talked about. Be purposeful. The more purposeful you are, the better your LinkedIn network is going to be. Engage immediately. Never make a connection without engaging, because that engagement is the first step to building trust, respect, and like. Manage your LinkedIn invites on a regular basis, both the ones you received and the ones you sent. A business owner told me a few months ago when I was working with him, he had hundreds of invites he hadn't received, and he saw a name in there, and he kicked back in his chair, and he's like, you can see, he's like, saw something that, flabbergasted him. I said, what's up? He says, that guy is now doing work with my competitor. I said, well, that guy sent you an invite to connect 3 or 4 months ago. He missed an opportunity. So don't let these pile up, because not only is it overwhelming and daunting, but you could be missing out on an opportunity. Find ways to move the right connections into the right conversations. Those conversations could be about life, could be about, your community, and also could end up being about business, but move them into the right conversations. Use that ignore, that block, and that report button, I want to say judiciously, so that we clear out the garbage that we need to clear out of our LinkedIn network. Use the follow, unfollow, and unconnect appropriately, so that you see the right content and you have the right network along the way. And use your LinkedIn network to get introduced. As you're connecting, you're creating opportunities for the people that you're connecting with to build trust, respect, and like with, and they would be more likely and more open to connecting or introducing you to that next person. So use those introductions. Don't send invites to everyone. Be deliberate about this. And lastly, LinkedIn is not the only place for you to connect with your target audience. There are lots of other ways of doing that. You may do these other places in alignment with LinkedIn, but it's not the only place to connect with your target audience. So maybe think about some other networking opportunities. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Twitter, maybe it's Quora or YouTube, etc., etc. Maybe alongside with LinkedIn. You will get the greatest value out of networking on LinkedIn if you follow these ideas that I have shared with you. If you're very purposeful and focused on your target audience and their influencers, if you're willing to help others along the way, if you're connecting with the right people and engaging with them immediately, if you're making the conversation all about them until they allow you to make it about yourself. The best way for you to get good at this is for you to practice and experiment. Change up your words in your invite messaging. Change up your words in your post-connecting messaging. And try different things that can see what they work. It's called A/B testing. And the more you practice and the more you experiment and the more you do this, the easier it becomes and the more rewarding it becomes along the way. My LinkedIn network is a vital part of my overall network and a huge part of my business, not only because I'm a LinkedIn strategist, but because of a lot of other things I do in life. So be deliberate about building your LinkedIn network. Be deliberate about building relationships along the way, and it'll create value for you. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for taking this course. I look forward to saying hi to you another day.